Do you want to kind of walk people through what are all the steps from
Yeah.
that first phone call till the time they're getting keys to their
Yeah,
house?
typically we're having a conversation, a casual conversation about the three things that we put the most weight on is your income, your assets, and your credit. So we're talking about what does your income look like? What does it consist of? Is it consistent? With the last 2 years, some people's income has been, you know, knocking off track. So it's just more or less, has it been consistent? Is there a likelihood for it to continue? Those are the things that we're qualifying for income. We're looking at your W-2s, your pay stubs, if you're self-employed, tax returns. We're doing all that up front. We're making sure that there is consistency, that the underwriter is going to be okay with everything down the road. We're looking at your assets. I had a borrower send me a picture of a stack of cash, about $12,000 in cash on a kitchen table. I think it was on Friday. It was either Friday or Monday. So that still happens. People scanning cash into the copier and sending that over as proof of funds. So we have to make sure that large deposits, things that people get annoyed with us on, it's simply because we have to follow government regulation to make sure that we're not doing things or stopping people that shouldn't be doing things. Not from the person that had $2,000 in a safe and want to use it for the house. Unfortunately, someone else ruined that for you. Yeah. So it's kind of just making sure that everything is following the code of what we need to follow. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's one of those things, there's a rule because someone else tried to do something that they shouldn't. Now we have to follow that rule, and that's it is what it is, as much as I hate that saying. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, the credit. So we're having that conversation. Someone's filling out an application. So we're pulling credit. We're going to see what monthly liabilities you have. That's another misconception that sometimes people think like, well, I have $60,000 in student loan debt. Well, maybe you only have a $60 payment. Maybe you're in an income-based repayment. So we're looking at your monthly liabilities more or less, not your total allotted debt. So your debt to income ratio is what we're qualifying you off of, and that's simply based on those monthly payments. So the student loans are kind of a big thing right now, with people having balances. So sometimes there's ways to get someone in an income-based repayment so that they do qualify, or using this program versus this program, because those two programs require different payments to be assessed in that debt to income. Most times someone will do an application. I personally like to sit down and do like a 20 or 30 minute in-person or a Zoom meeting so that we can look visually at what those numbers look like, see the opportunities on paper. I'm not a numbers over the phone kind of guy. I think it's tough to follow along and understand. I talk to people all the time that talk to maybe a different lender first and they have no idea like what this is going to cost. That could be, it could align. Most often I would say it probably won't. You could be looking at a house that's $100,000 more than what you're comfortable paying on. And now we're wasting time. I don't ever think it's a waste of time, but it's just mostly getting you started and looking in the right direction. So we do that Zoom consultation. If everything looks good, if we have all the documents, that's when we would issue the pre-approval letter. So that's when it's time to get back in touch with the real estate agent, get your search set up that's established based on the price point that you should be looking. Go to the fun, I always call it the fun stage, where you get to go shopping. And the thing that people seek to do, they got to come talk to the money guy first. And it's not always much fun. Sometimes a little stressful, a little anxiety, but we try and get you through that. Once we're shopping, I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines, helping run payments, figure out if everything looks good. In this market, still want to make sure that I'm involved and be there for, if the offer is going in, what we want to be as competitive as we need. So that takes kind of a teamwork approach, calling the listing agent, making sure that we're figuring out, do we have enough funds? Are we going to have to go over asking? Some of the things that we have to do. And again, that's just takes teamwork, everybody being on the same page. Once that all goes through, once we have an accepted offer, we get to do another loan application where they finalize for a specific property. We push everything through underwriting. They're going to make sure that everything checked out from that initial Greg step of looking. And it typically takes about 30 days